lesson and lesson series, we'll take a closer look at transitional fossils, aka intermediate fossils. Those who don't know what I'm talking about, it's a fossil or so of an extinct organism or multiple members of an organismal kind that's been discovered and is claimed to have characteristics of two kinds and therefore an intermediate between the two, proving a macroevolution from one to the other. The 7 most common examples used, each of which I have a separate lesson looking at how they are not truly transitional/intermediate fossils. Arctic talic, said to be fish to amphibian intermediate. So-called leg snakes, said to be lizard to snake intermediate. Archaeopteryx, said to be dino to bird intermediate. Pisocyrene, said to be land mammal to sea cow, like manatee or dugong intermediate. Ambulocetus and the basilosaurid kind, said to be land mammal to cetacean, so like whales, intermediates. Thrinaxodon, said to be reptile to mammal, intermediate. And Australopithecus afarensis, said to be ape to man, intermediate. Now, when it comes to the problems with transitionals/intermediates, first of all, they're scientifically impossible. They defy what is called the principle of correlation of parts, which is a biological principle that says every part of an organism, so think like every organ system, every organ in the system, every limb, so on, every sort of tissue, so on and so forth, all must work together to perform essentially one function, or at least built around one primary function. Like if you look at the entire human anatomy, the skeletal system, the muscular system, the positioning of the organ systems, and the respiratory and cardiovascular systems, all designed around upright walking. That would be an example of this. But, again, these transitionals/intermediates defy this. So like the fish amphibian intermediates or land/sea mammal intermediates, they either can't walk or can't swim or can't do both because you have body systems that are designed to do one mixed with body systems designed to do the other. So then they would be fighting each other and not complementing each other, leading to a dead organism. Also, there's the major underlying assumption of concrete taxa. See, taxonomical classification groups, called taxa, are completely man-made, malleable, meaning they can be altered and rearranged, and mostly based on extant kinds, ones that are still around. So we should find extinct kinds that don't seem to perfectly fit. So the reasons certain fossils can be passed off as transitionals are because 1, kinds are composites of characteristics that can function together. 2, taxa are defined very strictly to where a kind has to fit very specific requirements to be in a certain one. And 3, there are odd organismal kinds that don't have a even close looking extant comparison to help fit them into the already defined taxa. Therefore, it's all about interpretation based on perceived worldview. Here's an example to help show you the point I was trying to make. If platypodes, which, yes, that is a plural form, I bet many of you haven't heard that, I know I hadn't until recently. If they weren't alive today and it fit the macroevolutionary story, then isn't it possible that they would be considered transitional fossil for the same reasons that others are? I'll end this overview on transitional/intermediates with this. The book of nature, which is essentially natural science, and the book of scripture, which is the Bible, aka the 66 canon, say that kinds only produce after their own kind, according to the law of biogenesis and Genesis chapter 1. And as Christians, we should love knowledge because we know God has given us His Word that we might know everything we need to, and has made us in His image, with rationality so that we can learn about other things and even have science. Therefore, we should reject man's inconsistent, scientifically impossible, and biblically erroneous idea of transitional/intermediate fossils. Excuse me. And shouldn't hold to incorrect concepts, whether it's a matter of salvation or not, which this is not. And I'm not trying to call. I'm definitely not calling anyone a heretic here. I'm not trying to call anyone a science denier, and definitely not trying to call anyone an idiot. But according to the law of non-contradiction, only one of us can be right, and science and scripture makes that pretty clear.